This is Activ8 Daily, and I'm John Fosco. Breaking news! Breaking news! Conor McGregor is going to fight Floyd Mayweather the first week of May in 2017. Or at least that's what Jalen Rose reports as fact. So it is breaking news. Jalen Rose on his podcast on ESPN Detroit is reporting that his sources confirm it. And if you look at all the riffraff between the UFC and Conor McGregor and the secret meetings and all this stuff, it makes sense. Floyd Mayweather tendered a $50 million offer to Conor McGregor publicly to fight him. And I think we all know by now what motivates Conor McGregor. He's a money-motivated guy. He doesn't hide it. He wears it on his sleeve, and God bless him for it. But when you think about the secret meeting Conor McGregor had this week with Dana White and Lorenzo in LA, and you think about him being pulled off the card, this is something that if you look at a May 2017 date, you have to assume that Conor has to completely change his training, right? Because Floyd's no dummy. Floyd's not going to put up $50 million and come into an MMA cage. Not going to happen, because he'll get housed. He'll get destroyed. But Floyd is very smart, and he knows Conor's linchpin is money, and Floyd's got a lot of it. So if he puts $50 million out there, right, he's bringing all the UFC fans over to his promotional pay-per-view buys, right? And obviously he has a huge fan base. And a Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather pay-per-view, the numbers that would potentially do, especially if the UFC gets behind it. And here's how I think they will get behind it, because that's what everyone's thinking. How the heck is Conor McGregor going to get Dana White and Lorenzo Fertitta to get behind this? Here's how I believe it happens, right? Number one, Conor will explain to him how it's good for the UFC, because it will bring more exposure to Conor McGregor and the UFC than the UFC could ever have. Number two, money, money, money. If Conor McGregor is getting paid $50 million, let's say he gives the UFC 15. Let's say he gives the UFC 20. Let's say he splits it with the UFC 25-25. That is significantly, that is double, triple, quadruple the money Conor McGregor was getting paid to fight in the UFC. That's just a product of the sport, boxing versus MMA. But I think when you're looking at all this hush-hush and you see no activity from Conor McGregor, it's because Conor's going to have to get in a boxing ring. And I'm going to tell you right now, if he gets in a boxing ring, which it looks like he is, with Floyd Mayweather, he's going to lose. Okay, he's going to lose. But he doesn't care. He's going to give it his best shot, and the reason he's probably inactive is because he has to change his training completely to get ready for a boxing match, especially against the greatest defensive fighter of all time. Boxing, guys, they call it fighting in a phone booth. It's a whole different strategy. It's a whole different fight than MMA. So Conor McGregor needs a year plus to prepare for a boxing match, okay? So I think that's why everything's going to be hush-hush. But this is a story that changes and breaks and evolves the rules of what an athlete can do in the UFC. And what's so interesting is it seems like every week Conor McGregor exists in the UFC, the rules are evolving, the rules are changing, and you got to remember, we have a young sport. The UFC and MMA is a very young sport. So what he is doing is paving the way for future Conor McGregors and future stars to really cash in on their fame. So we're going to keep you updated on this. The one thing we're going to tell you is if Conor McGregor steps in a boxing ring with Floyd Mayweather, he has no chance. But that doesn't matter to Conor McGregor. This is what matters to Conor McGregor. Activ8. Out.